so weird because the first time you asked me, I would have had an alive father and I'd be single, like, or at least not married. It's kind of amazing how many different things there are right now.
Is.
So I'm excited about talking about whatever you want to talk about in this. It'll be great.
Dadhood, I be reppin' dadhood. Let's go.
Kyle Cease joining the DADHOOD today. I'm so excited about this. We've been talking back and forth about doing this episode, and as we just mentioned offline, today and this time, the exact time it's supposed to happen. So I am excited about the magic that's going to come. Kyle, I have to, and my wife and I have multiple of your audio books while painting our house, doing all this stuff with our own.
Oh,
To have you actually on the show and to connect with you, it's a magical and special moment. So thank you for jumping on.
oh, thank you, brother. Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for the support, and thanks for doing the inner work. And I think there's a special touch to be here for me that it's about being a dad, or anything dad based is very exciting, because that's a very exciting, probably the deepest, most important part of my life. So I'm excited that this exists. I think it's a really important podcast to be doing, that I think dads are very underrated. I think they're starting to make a comeback as far as mattering, but like, a lot of men are feeling unimportant. And so like a podcast like this is really helpful. So it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you, brother. I think one of the best things is how much, not only have I many people from you of following your truth, following your passion, right? And I did personally feel that way with when I became a dad myself. There wasn't a lot of examples out there of how I should show up. I had my own father, but he was very much so into his career and working and growing that way. So having the example of how I should be, how I should act, what different experience along this journey, there wasn't that there. So I figured if we could create that space, talk about the importance of the dad's role and why it is imperative that we show up for our children, because we are a guide, we are a beacon in their lives, and how we show up really does matter. And watching you talk about Vivian and just like seeing that love and that passion is one of the many reasons I'm so excited for this episode.
No, well, she's pretty special, man. Like, it's so interesting. She was the beginning of a new part of my life, right? Like, in other words, like a new phase. And I noticed she was something that I could energetically in my mind or heart hold on to as I released parts of my old life. In other words, it's like she really represents the birth of a new life. Like if you're going through like, oh, certain things in my life aren't like they used to be anymore, and then you go, but that's because I was making room for this amazing kid, and all of a sudden you have this new level of appreciation. Everything you were annoyed about doesn't matter, and I've noticed it falls away. Like Vivi's 8 now, but she represents uh the beginning of my new life. There was a time even uh early in her childhood, separate from that, just in different places of my life, where I felt suicidal. And because I had a kid, I don't know if I would have or not if I didn't, but it was less tempting because I had a kid. Like you want to become the greatest for this kid, and you want to do everything. So, yeah, you also, part of having a kid is you do let go of who you used to be a lot, because like you said before we recorded, like you now have someone else. It's about something beyond you, right? And so that there's something amazing there, because in a way, a part of you does die. A huge part of you that could just go do gigs whenever you wanted, or, stay out late, or just whatever. And it's like, nope, now we are in service forever.
Oh my gosh, what a great way to put it. We are in service forever, because when you're serving others, you want to show up, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's a crazy thing, because we really are. Everything's different. And, it's an inner battle. Sometimes you have what you want to do, and that, I'd rather watch a movie that's not Pixar sometimes, and then there's And then there's this higher thing that's just like, that's not the most fulfilling thing. It's like watching her express how she needs to just keep her safe, but watch her unfold and sit back and just witness and observe is more fulfilling now than everybody please see me. Right? Like everybody please like me. Did I do it right? Whatever. He's kind of gone, you know?
Mm. At what point do you feel like that went away, Kyle? Because I'll be honest, I still have moments like that where I'm like, I want everybody to still see me because that's my 8-year-old version crying to the world, right?
Yeah. Well, I definitely don't mean he's fully gone because I definitely have that too. But I have found higher and higher. Okay, this is going to sound like such a nothing example, but it's a really amazing example in a way. I'm a big music snob. I was also a musician, and I have my music that I like, and I'm that kind that's like, I try to honor music that's not that, especially like a lot of new music that is clearly just programming, in my opinion. And I just feel like I'm just like an old man now. Like that's not music. And I've had a part of me that wanted to show my daughter stuff that I think is music, and she hears it. And then sometimes she'll like a song that to me is just like, this is a Disney programming, evil, whatever. And she's musical. So I almost want to be like, do you like that for sure? And whatever. And then I had this like shift where I actually got more excited about hearing only what she likes or even what's new music, even if it is programming, and watching the me that has my way from the past that I associate it. Like, in other words, we're thinking of going to a festival out here. I live in Austin. It's called Austin City Limits. And there's this music festival. And literally there isn't one band in the lineup that I really know or like, but they're all huge bands. And there's a part of me that just doesn't want to go to that. And then there's another part of me that my heart's open and goes, what if I just went with Vivi and we heard music that I haven't heard? And it's interesting because what I'm saying is that, like, it's representing the new life that I'm like, what if my way is an old way that's dying? And what if I'm just going to be blown away by being in awe of things that are awesome that I would have never seen and never known? And I actually, for the first time, got excited to go to the festival because I've not heard any of them. And I can't explain it, but it almost represents like a new energy of like, I'm curious to rediscover, re-explore, not be the old story that has his way and wants Vivi to learn his way. And I just am instead like, it's like I just was reborn in that, like, I'm open to what life has. So it gives a whole new level of listening where I'm not just telling people how it is. It's just like, I'm still there to still teach, but also learn a million times more. So I'm finding myself like more and more emotional, just being blindsided by ways that I've never been used to before, or openings to things that I would have had judgment of in the past. And so there's this whole new exploratory life that's birthing on this side. And I feel like we're on this planet to grow. So if I'm not learning new things, I would have just, if I didn't have Vivi, I don't know if I'd just be still Billy Joel's the only way and everything new sucks. And like, maybe the old me would like to die into a new earth of exploration and possibility and hold my daughter's hand and do that with her. So
Yeah.
there's something really fun for me, even selfishly, in that, like, whoa, like, what could I learn versus what could I teach?
Ah, that's so good because I know as a father, I feel like there's so many moments, Kyle, that I'm like, I'm trying to teach you. I gotta teach you boys how to be kind, how to show up in the world, and do this. And then they sit and watch YouTube shorts on Saturday morning, like an hour, and I come down and my mind's like, this is not how you show up in the world. Like that's like it's curated content. And I found myself almost having judgment towards my boys because of the content that they're consuming consuming, rather than saying it's the content that I don't believe in. It's almost judging them for viewing the content. And I had to step back at some point because I'd be like, the world's not a YouTube video, boys. You can't talk about that.
And
it's
like, didn't you grow up when I grew up where we're not used to this? You know what I mean?
100%.
Like the kids are born into this crazy TikTok-y world. And it's so funny because I guarantee you when you and I were watching whatever Saturday morning cartoons or, you know, our stuff when we were kids, I don't know your age, but for me, it'd be like, actually, I was watching Evening at the Improv and comedy club shows, but my age would be like, my friends were watching He-Man and Smurfs and, right?
Yep.
And then I feel like my parents were like, this is too many channels. Like, that's like, they're us, you know what I'm saying? We're just now saying the same thing. And one day I always think like, what will they be like? Like, they'll be like, when I was a kid, we watched 1-minute shorts and flipped through, and you guys are just every 2 seconds, like, just different devils just floating by, flipping you off. Like, I don't know what our kids will watch.
I don't either. And it's so like fast and evolving. And you're right. It's like every parent, every generation has their thing. And then our kids carry on something down the road and they'll say the same thing like, you know, we watched this and you kids, this is all rubbish what you're doing. And it's just generation. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you reflect back on what childhood experience memories that you want Vivian to carry on with her so that when she becomes an adult, she carries those legacies on or those same traditions on?
When you say childhood memories, you mean for her, right? Like,
yeah, for like her, like what are you creating in the household that you are hoping she's going to remember down the road and carry on?
Yes. Through doing the work I do when I coach people or hold space or do live events, one of the things I've learned, this is really important, is to not go out of my way to make sure that I'm not being like my childhood. That doesn't mean be like my childhood, but I find that if we go, I don't want my kid to experience what I experienced, then what happens is you become a pendulum swing to the opposite of that, and you just give them the same thing in an opposite way. So I have an actual example from this. We have an amazing audio product called Your Soul Is Not For Sale, and that came from a live 3-day event. And the first guy I talked to, I was saying, if you try to not be like your parents, you're going to give them the same thing, but just in an opposite way. And this guy raised his hand and he said, well, that doesn't make sense to me. He said, I'm a great dad. He goes, let me tell you about what my father was like, and let me tell you how I'm not like him. And I go, okay. And he goes, when I was a kid, man, my dad never told me he loved me. He did not care at all. He was never there. And I just felt totally unheard and everything. And he goes, I tell my kids all the time I love them. He goes, I'll tell them in front of their friends. I'll embarrass them. And I'll tell them, you don't know how good you have it. Because like when I was a kid, I never heard this. And I said, so let me get this straight. You love your kids in front of their friends to a point where they're uncomfortable. You guilt them about it and tell them they don't know how good they have it, and you make your love for them about you and not them. Doesn't that sound like your dad? And the guy was shocked. I was like, I get that it's different, but both of you aren't hearing your kids. Both of your affection is not including the kid. Right. And so I definitely don't want Vivi to experience the bad parts of my childhood. But if my aim is don't be this, it's a lot different because you always have to hold on to what you don't want something to be like. So if I'm holding resentment about a time my dad yelled at me or when he spanked me so hard I went to the hospital, right? And I'm like, I'm never going to be that. Then I'm going to be very tense and control versus the real me in the moment would just never do that, right? But if you're like, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be this, you're actually creating a resistance and a bunch of control that's actually the same crap that my dad went through. You know what I'm saying? And so he was trying to not be whatever his dad was, and it probably came out in rage a few times, right? Like it came out really bad. And in fact, here's another example of that. My dad was very repressed. So we didn't know one thing my dad felt. You know, he didn't talk about his feelings. So I tried to not be my dad by talking every feeling, right? Now here's the difference though. My dad didn't say stuff because he didn't he was repressing it. I realize when I say stuff, sometimes I'm repressing it. In other words, me introverted is different than him not talking about his feelings because I'm doing all this inner work now and I'm at a different place, right? Some people are not talking because they're repressing. Some are not talking because they're connected and letting it come up and hearing it and healing it. I notice that a lot of times when I have something that I feel, I need to talk to someone about it. But guess what? Now it's got to be processed through their ego and someone else's ego, whatever. And so I'm actually repressing by being the opposite of my dad when I talk through my problems. In other words, most things teach. If you have problems, talk to someone about it. My problem has been I talk to everyone about it. And I find if I shut up, it kind of self heals. So I'm the opposite of repressing when I'm quiet, right? And so that's another example of being the opposite of what your parent is makes you the same in a way. It's just got opposite clothes. So more and more, what I'm trying to do is continually become present for all the wounds from my past and not incorporate an opposite of that. And I would say there is something to finding the balance. You know, in 2006, Wayne Dyer, who was a major hero of mine, put out a movie called The Shift. And there's a scene in the movie where he's talking to a mom who has kids and she's trying to control them. And he's like, they got their own compass. Like they'll eat when they want, let them do their thing. And I loved that. And I think that I've been offering Vivi that level of freedom. Like she'll just tell me, and I can see that now could use a little more. Like there's almost a desire for some discipline, you know what I mean? Like there's discipline, but I'm almost too free and I'm catching it. She needs a little bit more no. She actually is craving more no. You know, because if I'm like you choose everything, she actually feels insecure with that. Like, you know, can you pick for me some things, right?
Sure.
And so I'm actually finding some of the things that would have been seen as the old strict father are actually starting to be needed again in certain ways, right? Like I have been so free spirit, but at the same time, like needing to come in with a little more, you know, no, we're turning the TV off now. It's time. I know you want to, babe, but that's it. And usually in the past, she could like negotiate 10 more minutes. Oh, okay, 10, but no. And all of a sudden she feels safer in that. So I've almost had the problem of being so open and she lives her life freely that she's actually requesting a little bit more structure than I'm used to having. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's very fascinating because a great example would be dinner time. You know, my one son is just he's incredible. He's 11 kind of like he's like going on 45. He just is very independent, does his own things, very opinionated when it comes to dinner time, and he'll be like, "I don't want to eat that. That looks gross." And now the old version or the dad version that I had would have said, "You sit here until it's gone, you don't complain, and you can sit here all night and eat it." So you'll feel those moments generating inside that I'm like, I've got to pass that on. You've got to eat your food. And then there's this other side that I'm like you, that I'm like, well, if you don't eat, I guess you'll be hungry or you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that like when we can teeter back and forth and it doesn't have to be an absolute this one way, I'm finding that that's helping in those situations. From, to your point, here's a little structure that maybe my dad was over structured, and here's me where I'm going to be really lackadaisical and let you figure it out. And maybe there's, and the Libra side of it, there's a little bit of balance that both can work in that space, right?
You know, it's so weird because it's not just parenting, it's all of life. We're either too structured or too flowy. You're either Bert or Ernie. And like you know, like that combo is really big. When I started doing, when I started speaking, when I left stand-up comedy and started being a transformational speaker, I was I mean, like I would walk on the stage and do a 2-day event in full flow and get to the end of day 2 and be like, should we do another day tomorrow? And people like flew in for this. And all of a sudden it's a 3-day event because I'm in that much flow. But I really am enjoying structure for the first time. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like, yeah, of course structure is necessary. But I think most people are over the line structure and not enough flow or creative. And so I feel like I only need what I'm lacking. And if people are major pro structure, I would offer you to open up your right brain and your free side and play a little bit. Because you're also, especially as far as parenting, we're dealing with kids who are so much more right brained and only creative, you know, and you don't want them to get stuck under that rigidity, but also, yeah, there is a balance there. It is a weird place. Like, no, eat your food, you're going to finish it. It's like, what if they don't like it or are full? Like they're learning to distrust that compass, right? Like, and like I'm full, and we're just like, nope. But then also, I've heard a couple speakers talk about this, and I think this is so big too. I've learned something so profound, which is you really learn something through only experience, never through someone telling you, right? And I don't remember who said it, but I remember a speaker saying, if a kid is told, you know, a teenager's told you can't go out at night, they haven't experienced that they can't go out at night. But if they go out at night and get arrested, now they've experienced it, right? So telling them versus letting them experience the thing is really different. And so I've had to go through a few hard times with Vivi where I let her experience it. And so one of the challenges I've had with Vivi is usually when I say it's time to go, it's almost like that's code for her to like weigh herself down in the chair more, not move more. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, we got to go now. Like we're late now. We're late is not an experiential thing. It's just words to her. She doesn't feel the pain of late. She doesn't care. Right. And I said, this is your chance to go to we're going to go to a restaurant, but we have a reservation, right? Like this is an actual thing that happened. And she didn't move and she didn't move. And I just knew she's going to have to learn it now. And so I said, okay, it's too late. And this moment is big because she goes, oh, okay, Dad, I'll go. And I'm like, babe, it's too late. Like we just crossed a line where now if we go, we're too late. And she's now crying and she's experienced how important going when I say it is. You know what I'm saying? Versus I tell her. And I've learned that telling her something really doesn't do anything at all. Like it has to be experienced. If I'm saying, you know, like in that example, if I'm like, we have to go, we'll miss it, last chance, nothing. But once that one time happened, she moves much quicker now because she experienced the actual loss, right? So it's a weird thing how much the experience. So like imagine if you were saying to your kids, if you're saying if you don't eat now, you'll be hungry later or whatever. Let them go hungry one night. You know what I'm saying? Like let them experience, okay, shoot, you know, and I don't mean let them go hungry like a horrible parent. I mean, like let them experience what you were trying to say. So they're now emotionally in alignment with what you're saying. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even that evening, he was gonna be late to his football practice. He loves football. And so I said, "All right, buddy, well, you'll sit here and you'll finish your food." He had created this meal for himself. So I was like, "You're gonna finish your food when you're done?" He sat there through half his football practice, Kyle. He didn't move. He sat there. He was being stubborn. And then he's like, "Can we
Yeah.
still go if I eat this?" "Yeah, we can. You gotta finish it." And that was one of those moments. Now he knows that if I say, "Finish your food before we go," he knows that that's going to happen, that we're gonna
Yeah.
yeah. So
It's very important to kids to test boundaries. I think that's a huge thing. They're like, okay, you said this thing, but I haven't experienced how much you mean it.
yes.
You know, so I think we all test boundaries. I really do. I think we all have a line that we experience we can't cross, but we got to figure it out first, you know?
Absolutely.
And so experience in life does that. So like our kids are going to hear us say stuff and Well, okay, I'll slack off, or I won't do it, or I won't do what you said, or I won't eat. And then you go, okay, like, I understand this is actually a very healthy test, so you can experience truly in your bones,
Mhm.
like, what, you know, how it works. And you will feel safe seeing me react consistently with what I said.
Yes.
Your body will feel safe that I said that and then proved it. If I say that and you negotiate out of it only, and I still let them negotiate in certain ways, right? But if you negotiate out of it and I'm always bendable, my daughter will get to hear, I'll lie next to her when she goes to sleep. She can hear a song or two, right? Sometimes three if she goes to bed early enough. She can pick the songs, whatever. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, you got to bed later. You only get 2 songs tonight. And she'll be like, this is the test, right? Please, can we do 3? Please, Dada. Boy, if I say yes, what does she learn? Dad's word means nothing, right? Like that, and then the next night she's suddenly brushing her teeth much quicker because she wants the 3 songs, right? So that experience is so big, and their job is literally to test us. Okay, he says it, does he mean it? Right? Like, it's an amazing thing. It's just how it works, I guess.
So what would be the biggest test you feel as a father that Vivian has done to you that has really, like, tested you down to the core, Kyle?
Mm, that's a great question. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think of where a good one is. I'm now married to a woman that's Vivi's stepmom, Amber. Amber came from a more strict family, and Amber is almost not letting those tests Vivi is crazy about Amber, which might be partly because Amber is a little stricter with rules,
Mm.
right? But I mean, Vivi can't stop hugging Amber. She's in love with her. She loves her so much. Um, but Amber has no problem just being like, okay, well then we're not doing that like instantly, you know? And so Vivi honors Amber's rules really quickly, but I'm trying to think of if there's one. I wish Amber was here so I could ask her. She's on another thing right now. I guess I think that restaurant one was a really great, like really big moment for me, because that was a moment where I had to go through my hardest thing, which is it's agony for me to say no to you. And I've had to use that in place of like, okay, if we leave by now, or if we go to the thing, or if you do the thing, we can get a toy on the way home. But then we didn't do the thing. And I'm sitting here almost wanting her to negotiate with me to get the toy still, but I have to own we can't now. Like, I know tomorrow maybe we can. So I also would say I admittedly have failed the test many times. I have, in fact, this talk is helping me strengthen it, because I'm really hearing what I need to do. My stuff is evolving out loud. That's what my company's called, right? And I feel like I'm doing that right now. But I would honestly say I think I failed that test more than but that restaurant one's come up a few times, or we're not getting the toy. But I don't know. There's still a bendable thing, and she knows it.
Yeah. So you've mentioned this word a couple times, Kyle, and I want to hit on it because you say you would almost want her to negotiate with you. And you've said
Yeah.
this, you've used this term a few times throughout our conversation here. Did you feel like as a kid you were trying to get your parents to constantly negotiate with you, or where did that come from?
That's a great question. I guess one of the things that was a great thing about my father, who passed away a couple months ago, and believe it or not, to the people watching, I buried my father and married Amber 4 hours later on the same day, September 6th. My dad had a lot of different issues, but one thing about my dad that was incredible was he was such a think outside of the box person. There was no box with this person. And I really realized every company my dad ever made came out of thin air. They were companies that you've never heard of or would have thought of. They were just creative ideas. when I was maybe 12 and at the age where I could finally start babysitting if I wanted to, my dad gave me a business card. I had gotten like a CPR training and stuff. My dad gave me a stack of business cards, certified lawn care babysitter, and I walked around to the neighbors and gave my card to them. When they moved new people move in, I give them a card. I was working. And at 15, I was a comic at 12, and at 15 I was like, where do comics perform and make good money? And I started learning about I started learning about corporate parties, and I called the Chamber of Commerce, and I got the mailing labels from all the businesses in Redmond, Washington, sent flyers out, suddenly was doing corporate parties for everyone. And the reason I share those stories, and I have a million other stories like that, is because I really learned that you can create anything you want. And so life to me was never, ever just a closed door. It's just like, yeah, of course, we can make anything happen if we want it. And so, if I was to apply at a business and they said no, I'm like, okay, well, how can I use this no to create something this way? And I guess I sit in a space of like, everyone knows that we can make anything possible on the other side of something. And so, and that's probably been a problem of mine because like I can offer to a partner, in the past, a girlfriend, like, here's what doesn't align for me. I'm saying that thinking she'll come back with okay, let's make it work or whatever, versus she'll just be like, oh, sorry, goodbye. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is a negotiable talk, in my opinion, right? Like there isn't really a ultimate thing, but if someone stops being in the negotiation, it just doesn't align. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but just I've created so many companies or things out of thin air that I don't know if I'm a kid and my dad says to me, you're not going to get a toy today. I want to be like, what can I do to make this work with you? Right? How
Yeah.
can we create? Because that no is just like, let's still talk, right?
And so if Vivian does that with you, you feel way more open to, well, now there's something on the table, right?
I feel like if she's able to hear why and then like integrate that and understand it, like if I'm able to say, no, we're not getting a toy because you didn't clean your room, I would probably still offer the caveat where if she says, if I clean my room right now, right? Sometimes that would work, right? Yes, if you clean your room right now, we can still get it. But I actually like her asking without me having opened it. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I almost want her to have her own authority. Do you get what I'm saying? To get, you remember the movie, did you see Pursuit of Happiness with Will
Oh, yeah.
Smith?
Yeah.
Before he hit Chris Rock? Like, there's a scene that almost makes me cry when I think about it, where he's playing basketball with his son. Remember that famous scene?
Yes.
And the kid tries to shoot and he says, oh, I don't know, man. Some of these kids are going to be a lot taller than you. They're going to do better or whatever. And the kid like looks down and puts the ball down. Oh, it makes me emotional. And Will Smith is looking at him going, don't let anybody tell you what you can't be, including me. Like he gave him a no that was a fictional no, wanting his son to have his own autonomy and his power. And I want Vivi to know that. You know what I mean? I want her to know that we can make anything work, but be willing to open it up, be willing to start it, be willing to create the discussion. So if I say no, but maybe you can do this, then she's not in full authority. Like I want her to experience, I said no, but she has the ability to override it if she wants to. Does that make sense? She has the ability to say, is that negotiation for sure? Because then imagine her one day applying for a job and they're like, we don't have anything, but you're like, what if I do this? You know what I mean? Like, how about if we make this work this way?
So
I think that's a skill I'd like for her to have. Like I'm realizing it as we speak it. I didn't realize that till I'm really seeing it, but
that's cool because now that you realize it, you can actually conceptualize a way to foster that a little more between your relationship, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And to like really start to put words to that more for her,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
But
that's
also she sometimes it's going to be confusing because sometimes she really needs that no. No, it's bedtime still. What if we negotiate? No, it's midnight. Let's go.
sometimes no just still has to be no, right?
Yeah, right? Totally.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. One thing here, Kyle. So I created this. It's called the Dad Deck, and it's all about
Awesome.
this. Yeah, they're questions to engage between a dad and their kid, or a dad by himself, and he can journal things down. And I like to pull these with guests and just see what comes up, and we kind of go from there. So
I love that.
I'm gonna start spreading them out. You just tell me when to stop, Kyle.
Okay. Stop.
Okay, here we go. So this is weird because I was going to ask a very similar question to this before this. So it's just the
Wow.
universal's way of saying this right now. So Kyle,
I felt that card too. Like
Did you
I saw
really?
it go by and like that one. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to read this out to you. So the question is, what's the biggest lesson your kid has taught you?
Well, one thing one there's I might have several and I hope that's okay.
Please.
One thing are there are so many more ways to enjoy or experience life than I thought. One is that. Two, she reflects back a lot of what I do. I'll be like, oh, why is she doing that? I'm like, because I did that. You know, one of the things she does is she will sing along with songs or say a joke that 100% she doesn't know the lyrics to or doesn't get. She doesn't get what she's saying. She's just repeating sounds and saying it. And I want to go, do you even know what you're saying there? But my favorite songs, I don't know half the lyrics to or the meaning to also. And I have spent my whole life repeating jokes I've heard when I was a kid and as a child, repeating jokes that my dad said. I didn't even get what I'm saying. And so I've seen her do that all the time. And I notice that sometimes I'm like, that's so weird she does that. And I'm like, I only do that. Like I, she embodies a confidence and says a joke that she has no idea what she's saying. And I've done that a million times, right? Like, so whenever she does a thing that I'll notice, boy, that's weird, or feel off or feel triggered by it, I do it. I've not felt one thing that she does that I find a little triggering or annoying that I also do. Like they're every single thing I do, right? So she embodies exactly me, and gives me a lot of hints at me. So I think that's one. What came up for you?
Yeah, that's so good. I thought the same thing. My kids hold up what I call like the mirror for me to see a lot of the work that I still need to do, because they will repeat something that I've either said, or they will behave when they get triggered in a way that they've seen dad behave before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that in those moments now, instead of allowing it to perpetuate, get me more angry or frustrated, it's a way for me to later in the evening start journaling that out and ask,
Yes.
where did that come from? And two, is that something I even want to carry moving forward in my life? Is there a reason I'm holding on to it? And the lesson or have I learned that lesson and I just need to let it go and move forward? So
Yes.
they constantly are showing me that, Kyle, and I'm grateful because I didn't have anybody else in my life that could have mirrored something and had that big of an impact for me before having
Yeah.
before.
Yes. That's huge. I think maybe it was Louis C.K. who had a joke also where he said, no kid has ever said to their parent, oh, no, you go ahead and finish. I'll wait till after you're done before I ask you a question. Like, this is a thing that I've noticed is that he said, I could be in a shootout with the cops and my kid will be like, Dad, I got to be like, what? Excuse me, sir. What? Yes, some dogs are brown. Right. Like, and there's so much truth in that. And I guess one reason I say that is because it brings up for me, you finally now get to, for sure, also in certain ways, at least from someone outside of you, not be seen completely. Like, obviously, my 8-year-old daughter has no idea what my life has been like. And what's really sweet is she asks me to tell her a story about my life every day. And I have no idea, even though I have a million stories, I can't come up with any. But I noticed that, like, there's a lot about me that will have to feel unseen as far as someone outside of me sometimes. And that forces me to see it directly. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you in a way, you won't be directly understood by your child. Like, they don't have the ability to go in and be like, what's it like, man? You must have really had a different life before I was born. And then I came in and now you feel a little tethered and lost and don't know what to do. What's that like, Dad? And you can cry to your 5-year-old about, like, it doesn't exist. You have to work on that, maybe with your wife, maybe with a friend, maybe with a therapist. But here's this person that we are going to die for that is totally fine not knowing the depths of what it's like to be you. You know, they
Wow.
want to, but you get what I'm saying? Like,
I do. But the thing I think that's interesting about that is they're also probably the very few people in this world that will also see you at all your levels.
totally. Dude, I saw a clip that made me cry so heavily. It's so true you say that, because there's also this perspective. It was a very smart girl. It was a I don't know if she was Japanese, but she was Asian, and so it was giving the words on the subtitles. This was a real moment of a girl crying to her father. And this is what she says to her father. The first thing she says is, you want everything to be about logic, but this is our home, and our home should be about love, not reasoning. That's the first thing this maybe 11-year-old girl says to her dad. Second thing she says is, maybe it's easy for you because you've loved me since you were in your 30s, but I've loved you my entire life. Every part of my life, I've loved you. She's bawling. And I'm like, oh my God, Vivi's loved me since birth. I've had most of my life without Vivi. And like, I am her life. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I caught how much that's true, because my dad died 2 months ago. And I'm having the first moments of neither of my parents alive. And I've only known them since birth. And that's really crazy to me, you know? And one day that'll be a thing. Vivi is very used to every second she's had memory that I'm there, you know? And one day that'll change, you know? So they love us always. It's so always, they almost don't know how much they love us, because it's like bigger than they consciously get. You know what I'm saying?
And there's probably a million times you can mess up and they're still going to love you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yet
That,
we still, Kyle, I still find myself desiring external validation or love when the reality is these two boys I have are giving that every single day. And why can that not be enough at times?
yeah. I think my thought is, as we keep growing, I actually believe, and this might be controversial to people, but I actually believe eventually it can be. I think there's something to these kind of, if they're doing inner spiritual work, these men that get to their 60s and 70s and kind of just feel, some of them to me, and I don't mean all of them, but feel content, feel like they're really good in themselves. They're okay, and they're the kind of people that you could have a problem and tell all your stuff to, and they laugh like, you think life's that big of a deal right now? Like they know, like, it's almost like they hear something. And I just turned 48. Everything in my life happened in the last 2 months. I just turned 48 like 2 weeks ago.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I know right now people are like, the cards coming in are, congratulations, sorry about your dad, happy birthday, I also broke my finger. It's just been like, oh, get well soon. It's just like, what happened? But I feel right now, I have no idea if this will make any sense. I made a video on this for October on YouTube. I am noticing some boy version of me who is excited about external circumstances, external validation, and can be so triggered and sad by certain circumstances or happy, is dying. He just isn't the truth. It's like a thing that, have you noticed you chase something, you want it, you get it, and you're like, this is it, like really loudly right now? Or, I also feel like all external authority is falling apart. Like right now, I feel like the tipping point has happened where the media, no one believes it. Like it's so low. Like what, 10% of America believes the government and media,
Yeah.
and then in the narratives they're telling us it's just BS, right? And so what does that do if our external authority, and what I mean by that is physical reality, is not the truth anymore? Then also our physical reality as far as money will make me happy, getting the right person will finally be it, that I'll be seen by someone, that I'll be approved of by my parents. It's kind of the ego's excitement, but it's losing its power. So there's something inside of me, and I don't know if you feel it in you, that's like external authority is not there anymore. It's losing its power. Now it still shows up, it still longs for stuff, but I just see that's a lie. And so I notice what I'm truly connecting to is the now more frequently each day. That a thing will come up like, oh, I missed this, I'm sad about this, but it's like a distant voice that shows up in my chest emotionally, but it doesn't stay there. I feel like 10 years ago it would have shown up and I'll be like, let's build the business. Let's reach that. Let's hit 10 million, whatever. And it's just like none of that. No, it's just like I'm a passing voice in hospice, and Kyle's the actual hospice care center for the boy that's dying. And he's the space holder for that one dying, and he's connected to the space. I've noticed I know the boy shows up when I want my wife, Amber, to understand me, right? His authority is someone else hears it. And because that's what he's always longing for, that's what I do for a living. I become a space and help people have seen what they can't have seen. And that's what I'm aching for. But I notice if I feel unheard by the external and I'm really triggered by that, I'm in a lie. Like, like it's not my God that someone understands me. That doesn't make sense, and that would put every person in my life under the job of, you help my wound of feeling unseen. That's why you're in my life. And so I am more and more getting better. I would say it's at 40% right now and climbing, that I'm becoming that space. And more, I notice things can come up that I feel. And instead of saying them, I still slip and I'll try to say it. And it can be heard sometimes, and it can be a problem. And I'll just notice, okay, just hear what you want heard. Become the father you never had. Hear what you need, right? And become a space for this boy. He just wants to be heard. And anything you want other people to hear, you just haven't fully heard in yourself. Does that make sense? Like
That does make sense.
anything I want other people to understand about me is because I haven't understood it. Right? Like,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
It does, and we talk a lot on Dadhood about, like, emotional intelligence and the importance of that, right? And what you're saying is, it's a very interesting concept, because I feel like a lot of guys will naturally suppress, their
Right.
emotions, and or they'll be like, "I'm being stoic." It's like, "No, you're not. You're just not unpacking what's really happening."
Yeah, and
Um,
you're going to explode in a year and it'll be a nightmare. Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
so this concept, though, Kyle, of hearing yourself in it and not
Yes, that's
feeling like
very
I have
different.
to project that out to others so they understand that I'm hearing it, but like that concept, and also being able to identify the emotion that lies beneath it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess where I'm going with this, because it feels very deep inside. My brain's trying to process this. Yeah, I'm trying to evolve out loud with you, Kyle, right now.
No,
But like,
let's do it.
I think
Yeah.
the interesting part with that is, how do you emotionally apologize, possibly, for how you showed up in a situation, right? And
Okay.
how do you take emotional accountability while also staying within or not over explaining it to others, if that makes sense.
Mm. Well, let's go through each one. So that's the first one again. How do you apologize?
So inside, if I react a certain way to my voice, a lot of times I'll go back and I will repair how I behave. Meaning, I'm going to explain to them I reacted that way because of my own stress with this situation or whatever. Because 9 times out of 10 has nothing to do with them. So I'll go back and I'll explain to them, "Hey, sorry, Dad was angry. Sorry, Dad reacted that way."
Yeah.
Now, with the way that I was taking the message in was, but I can sit here internally and I can work what this wound that's causing that reaction. I can internalize it and have that with inside so that I don't have to then explain it externally. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah. I think I understand. Well, the first thing I would offer on one of the things I've learned is that when I'm fixing something and repair, there's one level where I can own something and see it. The next level is going, okay, what is this making me need to become? Because I really believe all life's trying to do is get you closer and closer to what you truly are and release what you were conditioned to be, right? And so I've noticed the cycle continues even if I apologize for it, if I don't become the new thing, right? So if I don't, a good example would be this extroverting thing. Like, I've really thought the highest form of connection is to extrovert your problems. And I believe that's actually the case for most people. Like, really, like, you'll see signs, like if you're suicidal, if you're whatever, like, talk to a friend.
Sure.
What if for a few people on this planet, talking to someone actually is a dip down in vibration? It gives the suicidal thoughts or the dark thoughts or the thing way more power. And it was just a fluke feeling that's actually asking me to be introverted so I can hear it as deeply as I can hear it until it goes away. So the repair would be, hey, I'm sorry I made you hear that. I'm sorry I put you through that. I'm sorry for whatever. But I'm also seeing that this is a huge opportunity for me to emerge into a new level of introversion, because I think the highest version of me actually just wants to hear this. Ironically, the other person might be so much more open to hearing it. You know what I mean? Like, this example is kind of funny, but like, I find the world mirrors what you change. So, you know, my weak spot has been really, this is a weird thing, but needing someone to hear me and needing to be able to say anything, even if it's a criticism of them or something I'm feeling off about or where I feel unsafe. My belief is, and my pattern's belief is, that's what I should do for them. So if a person says to me, let's say I'm dating someone and they say, I'm having an affair with you or with someone, I swear to God, the fact that they open to me feels safer to me.
Ooh.
Do you get what I'm saying? To me, that's how I'm wired. They're just telling me point blank. That makes me closer. It doesn't mean I'm saying, let's be together, you're having an affair. It just means you open to me. It's the closing to me that I would, it's almost like my pattern almost would rather be in a relationship with a person that cheated on me and tells me about it versus a person that's blocked and doesn't cheat. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
my pattern would rather have that. So I feel like this answer is going off course, but my pattern goes, so the way life works is we talk through every single thing we feel. And you will be a space if I tell you all my triggers, and I'll be a space. And to me, that was a fact that that's the highest frequency there could be. It's a high frequency. It's pretty good. But I feel like life is now telling me, I got higher for you. It goes, you've literally only felt you could be understood extroverting something. So I find the apology, I'm sorry I brought that up. It was just a passing thing that maybe I felt you would want to deal with, but maybe you don't want to deal with it. Give them a chance to let me know. No, I actually don't want to deal with those thoughts, whatever. That sounds like a not connected thing, but what if life's trying to take me to a place where now it goes, next time, Kyle, that you feel triggered by something, I want you to hear it, because Kyle, you're capable of alchemizing internalizing it, and you will see it mirror on the external once you hear it and cry it out.
Yes.
Does that make sense? It's kind of operating in a miraculous way. So an apology to me is not just, I won't do that again. It's what am I supposed to become, because what I wasn't was what did it.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I feel like my answer's all over the place, but like there is always a new thing in repair that goes, I see the pattern that I thought was the truth, but is a pattern. And now I won't act from that pattern the best I can. It might slip, but now I'm getting it, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't know if that answer even came close to good. But when you said, how do you apologize? What I find is that it's always an offer for a higher version of myself. And that to me is the point of a relationship, right? Like to evolve, right? And sometimes the evolving doesn't look the way you thought it was supposed to. And so that's even better evolution.
Absolutely. And because you're evolving, you are becoming also a better version for your daughter to be able to use as an example moving forward, right?
Yes, totally. Totally. That, a really big thing I've noticed from honestly working with or doing my videos or my live events or coaching probably literally somewhere between 12 and 15,000 people in the last 15 years. The amount of people who have used, it's not that easy to be my truest self because I have kids. I can't follow my heart. I have kids. I can't join a band. I can't go fly to Europe when I want. I can't. You're actually making your children the reason you're not doing something. So they're the blame. They're the unconscious burden for why you weren't something. When the truth was, they are a great reason to become the greatest you.
Oh.
Like, and one thing I've said to parents, I said, in their situation, I'll always say to them, what would you tell your kid? In your like I had a woman maybe 2 weeks ago who's in a relationship with a totally non-spiritual, not interested in growth husband. But she has like 3 daughters or something. And she goes like, I have to stay with him for the kids. And I said, okay, I have a question. If your daughter was your age and in the exact same relationship, what would you advise her? And she starts crying. She says, I would tell her to get out. And I said, well, if you're telling her to get out with the words, while you don't do it yourself, you're actually teaching them, repress yourself for your kids and teach your kids the opposite of what you're living. And she started bawling. I said, because our kids learn what we do, not what we say. And so this thing that parents do is they tell their kids to be all you can be while they don't live it themselves. So the kid learns just massive confusion because you didn't live it. So you're teaching them with your actions. So that's why I tell parents, please be your truest self. And if you say my kids are why I can't, they're actually why you have to.
Yes.
Right.
Right there. That's Kyle, that you nailed it, man. When you were talking, I mean, my skin, I was getting all the feels like on that one, Kyle. And I really believe that I mean, this is just my own personal belief system, that when you can feel what someone's saying,
Yeah.
that's like your North Star. That's the truth. And you follow that, right?
Yes, totally. I mean, I think that too. I literally think, what would I want Vivi to do later with every decision I'm making? Like what would I want her to know she can follow it, right? So there is a balance. I still want to be there and not just take any gig that shows up, but at the same time, like I got to be my truest self because of her, I mean, she's the why behind everything now.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful thing because I have a drive and a reason to get stronger, a reason to get healthier. I think that like when I'm like, I don't want to go work out and I'm like, but I want to be here longer for her. Like I'm going to the gym,
Yes.
and I'm like, how healthy can I get? I feel like my parents just stopped all health once I was born. There just existed TV. There was not one time going to the gym ever for either parent, and I want to be here a long time, as much as I can be. So our kids are our why, right?
Absolutely. I think the final thing here, Kyle, because I wanted to respect your time. I'm so grateful for you being on.
No problem, brother. I'm honored to be on this with you.
What is the one message, Kyle, that you want Vivian to take with her throughout her life, way beyond your existence? What do you want her to take away from your relationship and what she's learned from you?
I think that she's infinite, that the sky's the limit, that everything difficult is passing, is not permanent, is a driver to something higher. That she's just love. I also want her to get that she's funny and musical and brilliant and beautiful and special, and that she's loved unconditionally no matter what she does.
Well said, brother. I appreciate you so much, Kyle. Thank you
This
for
is
being
fun.
on the show. You're incredible. Your insights are amazing, and I can't wait for the next episodes.
No, I am honored to be on it with you, brother, and thanks for asking. And you know, there's nothing. I've done a lot of cool things, and dadhood is the best thing.
Yes.
Dadhood, I be reppin' dadhood. Let's go.